Everyone seems to hate me and I've come to terms with it. But here's the thing people overlook. Hatred is reserved for the successful. The failures, they're pitted. And my sister, Emma Bennett, well, she falls into the second category. I leaned back in my high-end leather chair, crossing my ankles, my McQueen dress hugging my body, emphasizing the figure I worked hard to maintain. The grand, quiet halls of Caldwell and Associates were thick with the scent of aged wood, and the tension was almost suffocating. But I stayed calm. I already knew how this would play out. The entire estate, it was going to Sophia Bennett. Mr. Lawson's voice cut through the room, each word carefully spoken, like he was walking on thin ice. How cute. I had to fight the urge to laugh. There Emma sat across from me, her face as unmoved as ever. No sign of grief. And that unnerved me. I wanted to see her hurt. I wanted to witness the despair in her eyes. But there she was, just sitting, hands neatly folded in her lap. Why wasn't she crying? Why wasn't she begging? I tilted my head, my voice laced with fake sympathy, though underneath, I was enjoying this. I'm sorry, Liv. But you do know who Dad always counted on, don't you? She looked up at me, her stormy gray eyes locking with mine. There's no need to state the obvious, Sophia. Not a hint of weakness. Not a quiver. As she stood and walked away, I couldn't shake the odd feeling that something wasn't quite right. Not a single tear. That struck me. I couldn't remember the last time I truly had control over my choices. Maybe when I was a child, picking pink over black was okay, until Dad said that strong women shouldn't look like innocent little girls. Or when I dreamt of studying art at university, only for Dad to destroy my application and push finance onto me instead. I never had a say. There was always just one path. Becoming the perfect successor to Bennett Enterprises. Dad's love for me was different from the way he treated Emma. It wasn't soft or gentle. His love was about shaping me, drowning me in his demands, throwing me into the deep end so I could learn how to survive. If I struggled to stay afloat, he watched in silence. If I stumbled, he smiled with knowing approval. And if I made it to the surface, he nodded in quiet satisfaction, confident that I could handle it. I learned early on weakness wasn't an option. But Emma, she never had to learn that. Since the moment she was born, she'd been sheltered by our mother's constant, unconditional love. A love I never got. She was given the freedom to chase her dreams, to fail, knowing our mother's embrace would always catch her. As for me, when I faltered, my mother kept her distance. Her eyes weren't filled with concern, but with disappointment. Not because I was hurt, but because I hadn't turned out to be the daughter she'd imagined. Success should have felt like victory. But as I drove my Aston Martin through the streets of Manhattan, it hit me. This success, it didn't feel like a win at all. The company was mine. The wealth was mine. The power was mine. So why did it all feel so empty? The ease of it all was unsettling. It was too simple. And that made me nervous. My phone buzzed with a message from Emma. Will you meet me tomorrow? There's something you need to know. I nearly laughed. Did she really think I'd care? But curiosity gnawed at me. I had to know what Emma was planning. The next morning, I found myself at her place in the Boston suburbs. The house was modest. Nothing like what I would have expected from someone who just lost everything. No bulletproof windows. No iron gates. I had thought she'd be holed up in some rundown apartment, reeling from her losses. Instead, she'd owned this place for 3 years. No mortgage, no debt. That threw me. Emma greeted me with a small, polite smile. Thanks for coming, Sophia. I studied her closely. Something wasn't right. Documents were spread out on the table. I reached for them, my pulse skipping a beat. Corporate ownership papers, financial records, investment contracts, all in Emma's name. I looked up, confused. Emma calmly slid one document toward me. Mother left everything to me, Sophia. The world I had so carefully built came crashing down. These papers told an unbelievable story. Emma owned assets. Emma had her own business. Emma ruled an empire that had been hiding in plain sight. I struggled to keep my composure. What is this? I demanded. Her smile lit up, and it made my blood boil. Did you really think I was useless, Sophia? I clenched my fists. Why would Mom leave everything to you? I asked, voice shaking. Emma shrugged casually. Maybe because she saw through your lack of real loyalty to the family. I froze. Not because her words hit hard, but because I knew she was playing me. She was trying to provoke me, and I refused to fall for it. Control was still mine. Emma wouldn't bring me down so easily. As I left her house, my mind was racing. If Mom really did leave it all to Emma, I'd find a way to take it back. I would uncover Emma's weaknesses. I would find any cracks in Mom's will. I had to destroy Emma's reputation before she could rise any further. I wouldn't just accept defeat without a fight. The next morning, I called for an emergency meeting with my lawyers. We need to contest my mother's will, I ordered. Find any flaw that could work in my favor. Mr. Mitchell, one of the senior attorneys, adjusted his glasses. Sophia, your mother's will is airtight. We've reviewed it thoroughly, he said. I let out a cold laugh. Perfection doesn't exist, Mr. Mitchell. I didn't hire you for excuses. I need results. Harrison swallowed nervously. We'll do another review. I nodded, feeling a small sense of triumph. I ignored Emma's apparent victory. Everything she'd gained would be mine. Then, when Emma announced her plans to expand her investment firm to the media, I saw my chance. I'd ruin her reputation. I set up a secret meeting with Ethan Brooks, a key investor in Bennett Enterprises. I need your help, I said, setting my wine glass down. Ethan studied me for a moment. What do you need, Sophia? I want Emma's market credibility destroyed. Ethan chuckled knowingly. Are you really ready to go that far? I tightened my grip on the crystal stem. Whatever it takes. 3 days later, the headlines hit New York Business Weekly. Investigation launched into Emma Bennett's company for financial irregularities? Whistleblower claims suspicious trading in Emma's investment fund. Questioning Emma Bennett's true nature. I leaned back, satisfaction washing over me. I had orchestrated Emma's fall. Now, all I had to do was watch her crumble. But Emma's response came faster than I expected. The next day, she held an emergency media briefing. From my office, I watched the broadcast intently. She was calm, composed, her steel-gray eyes unwavering. These accusations against my company are entirely baseless, she said, her voice firm. Transparency has always been my guiding principle. The reporter seemed convinced. Then came the bombshell that froze me in my tracks. I have evidence proving that Sophia Bennett is behind these allegations, Emma declared, holding up several documents, my own correspondence with Ethan Brooks. I shot up from my chair, disbelief crashing through me. This was impossible. I had been so careful. How did Emma get those records? Sophia thought she could manipulate me, Emma said, locking eyes with the camera. But I've evolved far beyond her. My hands shook with rage. She had outsmarted me. The media turned against me. Is Sophia Bennett behind her sister's downfall? Bennett Enterprises heiress threatened by Emma's success? Sophia, the woman who can't handle competition? I bit my lip so hard I tasted blood. I had completely underestimated Emma's capabilities. I had been too sure of my victory. And for the first time in as long as I could remember, I was tasting the bitter sting of defeat. I stormed out of my office, grabbed my phone, and dialed a familiar number. Lucas, I snapped as the gravelly voice answered. What's your request, Sophia? I inhaled deeply, my voice ice cold. I need to make sure Emma never wins again. A silence hung on the line. Then Lucas's dark chuckle reached my ear. Are you ready to cross that line? My fingers tightened around the phone, knuckles white. I see no other choice. Lucas's soft laugh echoed. Brace yourself, Sophia. We're starting a war with no way out. I ended the call and collapsed back into my executive chair. Emma might have won this round, but I wasn't done. The final victory would be mine. I'd sacrificed too much to get here. My sister wouldn't take everything I'd worked for, no matter what it cost. I needed something bigger to destroy her completely. The allegations so far weren't enough to take her down. Maybe something more scandalous would do the trick. I contacted one of my media connections. I need a story. Something no one can ignore. He hesitated. What's your angle, Sophia? I smiled, ruthless. I want everyone to see through Emma's perfect image. Lucas wasn't just a fallen financial expert, he specialized in digging up buried secrets. 3 days later, he brought me what I needed. I opened the file and instantly knew I had my weapon. Emma had a hidden child. The paternity was unknown. For 3 years, she'd kept this secret from the public. A quiet laugh escaped me. Someone like Emma, who worked so hard to cultivate a flawless image, would fall apart once this came to light. I sent the file to New York Business Weekly, attaching a brief message. Your paragon hides darker secrets than you realize. Then I sat back and waited for the storm. By morning, the media exploded. Emma Bennett's hidden child scandal? Perfect image shattered. What other secrets is Emma Bennett hiding? From my office, I watched the chaos unfold, eager for Emma's reaction. And once again, she surprised me. Instead of retreating, Emma called for a press conference. I stared at the screen, watching as she stood there, dressed in an impeccable white outfit, her hair elegantly styled, surrounded by a crowd of reporters. And she remained calm, almost too calm. Yes, I am indeed a mother, Emma declared with unwavering confidence. A heavy silence fell over the room. I chose privacy to protect my daughter from the relentless media spotlight. But if anyone thinks this revelation will break me, she said, her gaze locking onto the camera, they are gravely mistaken. The applause that followed was deafening. My grip tightened on my wine glass. She had turned my attack into her victory. What should have been her downfall had elevated her, transforming her from a scandal-ridden executive to a symbol of maternal strength. I had made a critical miscalculation. In the wake of her press conference, Emma's corporate shares skyrocketed. Public opinion swung overwhelmingly in her favor. Emma Bennett was now hailed as the redefiner of modern female leadership. From controversy to inspiration, the Emma Bennett story. I slammed the remote against the table in frustration. I was losing control. Once again, I had underestimated Emma's ability to recover. But this wasn't the end. My retaliation would be ruthless. I needed to devise a strategy that would cripple Emma's influence for good. I grabbed my phone and dialed Lucas. I need something bigger. Something that will obliterate Emma once and for all. There was a brief silence on the other end before Lucas's voice came through with a sinister chuckle. Let's orchestrate her arrest. I froze. Elaborate. We'll create irrefutable evidence, a financial scandal she won't be able to survive. I felt a surge of anticipation as the plan took shape. This would be the final blow. An FBI investigation would destroy her standing in the financial world. I felt a chill run through me. Execute it, I demanded. The stakes were too high. If Emma wasn't destroyed, I would be. There was no room for failure. This world wasn't big enough for both of us, and I would ensure Emma's complete destruction. As I gazed out from my office, overlooking the glowing skyline of Manhattan, I thought only of Emma's downfall. Then Lucas's message came through. Everything's prepared. The evidence is complete. I opened the attachment. The documents were flawless, carefully forged financial records, expertly manipulated transactions, a clear and undeniable trail leading directly to Emma. It was all perfectly crafted to trigger FBI intervention. I took a deep breath, savoring the final moments before the storm. After today, Emma's reign would be over. I hit send. Anonymous tip submitted to FBI. And then I waited. 48 hours later, the media erupted. Breaking. FBI launches probe into Emma Bennett's enterprise. Corporate titan under scrutiny, Bennett faces allegations of illicit trading. Questions arise over Bennett Enterprises' international financial transactions. I chuckled softly, raising my glass. The tables had turned. Emma's image as a wronged, sympathetic figure was shattered. Now she was the one under scrutiny. The following morning, Emma received an FBI summons. From my office, I watched the live coverage as she emerged from the federal building. Her face was strained, her eyes cold, but she kept her composure, no words, no emotion. But beneath that calm exterior, I could sense Emma's fear. That knowledge gave me a deep sense of satisfaction. For 7 long days, I waited for the media to tear Emma apart. But she didn't break. Instead of retreating, Emma faced the nation head-on in a televised address. I categorically deny these allegations, she stated with remarkable poise. I welcome the FBI's investigation to prove my innocence. My hands clenched into fists. Impossible. Unthinkable. Emma was using the investigation to bolster her image. A clean investigation would only make her look more credible. I couldn't allow that. I grabbed my phone. We need someone to take the fall, I said. Lucas hesitated. Explain. I need someone to take full responsibility, someone whose arrest will bring this investigation to a close. Emma can't escape this. There was a pause before Lucas's dark laugh filled the line. I've found the perfect candidate. 3 days later, the news broke. Nathan Hayes, Emma's financial chief, arrested. CFO of Bennett Enterprises in FBI custody. Questions arise about Bennett's role. Investigation deepens. The true orchestrator still unknown. I smiled with satisfaction. Despite Emma's brave front, no corporation survives the imprisonment of its financial leader. Her empire would crumble, and when it did, I would strike. I expected Emma to fold. But to my surprise, she counterattacked the very next day. My assistant rushed into my office, pale and panicked. Ms. Bennett, urgent news. I snatched the tablet from her. A breaking news segment appeared on the screen. Nathan Hayes reveals shocking truth. I pressed play. The footage showed a weary but resolute Nathan Hayes. I was coerced. I'm not the orchestrator. The true architect of the scheme is Sophia Bennett. My heart pounded in my chest. No. This couldn't be happening. I had meticulously planned every detail. How had Emma turned this around so quickly? The media exploded with new headlines. Sophia Bennett orchestrated the entire scheme. I stood frozen, consumed by fury and disbelief. Emma had outmaneuvered me once again. Emma had orchestrated this. She meticulously planned every detail to ensure I would face investigation. The evidence was irrefutable. My lungs constricted as the screen shifted to reveal a sequence of email exchanges, my private correspondence with Lucas. Sophia Bennett, we must ensure Emma faces the consequences. Sophia Bennett, I want immediate FBI involvement. Sophia Bennett, if we require a scapegoat, identify someone outside our circle. An icy chill ran through me. Impossible. Inconceivable. I had erased every trace. How had Nathan accessed these communications? How had Emma turned the tables so completely? The recording ended and Emma appeared on screen. Her eyes locked onto the camera, fierce and calculating. Sophia, if you believed you could orchestrate my downfall without repercussions, you were gravely mistaken. The screen went dark. My body froze, the weight of what had just happened settling over me. I had underestimated Emma and now I was the one on the defensive. The emails, the evidence against me were exposed. How had she managed this? How had she turned the tables overnight? I couldn't think straight. My phone vibrated. Lucas. I answered with a cold tone. What have you done? His laughter sent a shiver down my spine. Did you really think you had mastered this game, Sophia? He asked, his voice mocking. You've betrayed me, I snarled. No, Lucas said, his voice low and venomous. I simply aligned with the victor. Fury ignited in my chest, but the fear quickly quashed it. What have you done? I ensured my survival, Lucas replied. And you won't escape consequences. My blood ran cold. You've lost all options, Sophia. Your arrest is imminent. Numbness settled over me. The headlines hit immediately. Asterisk breaking, FBI issues warrant for Sophia Bennett's arrest. Sophia Bennett faces accusations of securities fraud and evidence fabrication against sister. Has New York's power player finally met her downfall? Asterisk. Each headline fueled my panic. The FBI was examining my financial records. Investors were pulling out. Shareholders were moving to remove me from my own company. Everything I had worked for was crumbling. But I refused to accept defeat. I would escape no matter what. New York was a trap. Every exit was monitored. I began packing, destroying documents, and making arrangements for my escape. My offshore accounts were prepared and I needed only to outmaneuver the FBI's pursuit. I reached the secluded airfield at midnight, the wind bitter against my skin. I kept moving, focused on the aircraft that awaited me. But as I neared the plane, an alarm screamed to life. Floodlights blazed across the airfield. FBI agents emerged from all directions. Sophia Bennett, you're under federal arrest. I spun around, sprinting for the distant road, but within moments, a crushing impact hit my spine. My body slammed into the cold concrete, and I felt the sting of metal against my wrists. You have the right to remain silent. The restraints clicked into place, and I was trapped. The next morning, a corrections officer slid an envelope under my cell door. I opened it. Asterisk, you possessed everything, Sophia. Yet appreciation eluded you. This conclusion was your creation. Hatred isn't my motivation. But neither will I offer salvation. Farewell, asterisk. The paper crumpled in my hand. Defeat had come for me not from a lack of intelligence, but because I had underestimated my sister. Emma had evolved. She had become the strategist, the master of the game, while I had clung to arrogance. I had become her prey. Now here I was, imprisoned. My empire, my wealth, my recognition, all gone. All reduced to cold concrete and looming judgment. The question lingered in my mind, did I deserve this? Had I truly earned my punishment? Survival had demanded destruction. Victory had required ruthlessness. Leadership had no room for weakness. But was I wrong? Or would you, if you were Emma, have chosen to do the same? Would you have forgiven me? I understand now that Emma's actions weren't about hatred, they were about freeing herself from my dominance. But will she be able to hold on to what she's gained? Or is this just a temporary victory? Will someone more powerful rise to challenge her, as I did to her? So, I ask you, should Emma forgive me? Should my punishment be greater? But remember this, do you want my return? My imprisonment will not last forever. People like me always find a way to endure. Perhaps I'll emerge again under a different name with a new strategy. And when I do, will you be ready for Sophia Bennett's retribution? Like and comment if you want a sequel.